So we've been dwelling in the realm of winter this week. We offered a beautiful talk and poems about what winter can teach us and the practice of renunciation. And as we move into the solstice today, the winter solstice here in the Northern Hemisphere, it felt right to reflect on the meaning also of the cycles of nature, cycles and rhythms of change that exist in nature and therefore within us, within these bodies and minds and hearts. And Ajahn Chah was a Thai forest monk who taught that we can learn everything by the breath, by knowing the breath. He said, if you know one thing well, you know everything. So all of the teachings, all of the Dharma is right here with this in-breath and out-breath, that rhythm that's here with us our whole lives. And it teaches us everything because in part it echoes all the other cycles of change and rhythms in nature. Outside, inside, cycles that bring balance. So in breath, out breath, autumn moving into winter, light moving into darkness, day transitioning to night, flowing water becoming ice, frozen, no movement, cycles of health and sickness, youth and old age, being awake, being asleep, activity and rest, birth and death. And the earth and its beings, including us, we experience these cycles all the time, right? At the tiny infinitesimal level, like our cells being born and dying every moment. And at the huge, unfathomable level, right? The universe and the lifespan of our sun. And our hearts and minds, being nature, also experience those cycles as well, naturally, if we let them. They open and close, they intensify with energy, activity, and then need rest. The meditation teacher, Kitty Saro, sometimes jokes about how, as we meditate, it gives us the opportunity to notice those cycles, but also how we can fight them and have preferences. You know, we can love the vitality and the energy of the in-breath, or the sunshine, the brightness and warmth of the day. Sometimes we don't prefer the out-breath, or we don't want the darkness of night or the cold of winter to come. But it does, again and again, right? Day becomes night, in-breath becomes out-breath. And so this time of year feels like an opportunity to honor that yin energy, the darkness, the cold, the quiet. And I often think of the stages of a tree through the year, right? How in the spring, that kind of newborn, bright, light green, when the leaves begin to sprout, and how they get darker and bigger as the tree fills out over summer, and then turning a bit more yellow and orange and red into the fall as the leaves die, to where the trees are now, totally bare. And it's so easy for me to trust and see the worthiness of that tree at every stage. It's belongingness to the earth, its worthiness. But can I see that within myself and my own heart and rhythms? Trust that, like the tree, I can rest, I can let go. Even flowers, I think about the opposite time of the year at the height of summer, so much energy, so much explosion and life teeming. And flowers, at least the ones in my yard, often close at night. They just like close right up. And then they open back up in the morning. So there's that balance, right? That balance that nature knows. Do we let ourselves hear and listen to that, those same cycles unfolding within us? And we live in a society where we can be very disconnected from the cycles of nature and how those are reflected here in us. And even we can be sort of conditioned to reject them or judge them. We can have the lights on all the time. We can be talking with others, working at any time of day. We can get fruit that doesn't grow in our environment, strawberries in the middle of February. And we can wind up kind of not even listening to the call within for a different kind of rhythm or balance. I've learned that even with sleep, right, a time of rest, there are studies that show that when we're deprived of light, we actually don't have naturally that 8 hours in a row sleep cycle. That initially people sleep like 12 hours a day when they're deprived of light, and then they shift into a kind of 2-cycle sleep. The first one beginning more generally as the sun goes down. And then there's a couple hours of being awake where the brain waves are primed for kind of reflection and intimacy, prayer, creativity. And then there's another sleep cycle. So often, to me, it feels like society sort of demands one long in-breath, producing all the time, engaging all the time, and sort of ignores the worthiness of quiet and rest or isolation. It's often associated with something being wrong, can feel frightening. I know I can feel that, a sort of fear, like I'll be lost in the darkness. And so we wind up turning away from our rhythms or from the beautiful lessons of this time of year, right? The opportunity to step into the renunciation that Lee talked about. Maybe because we don't want to let go of the doing self. And I think actually we long for those rhythms. We can feel that inside because it is our deepest nature. I've been also, my parents are aging, and it's been really important for me to see how they are modeling beautifully and honoring of that process. It's difficult and they're really open about that. And I see them supporting each other in slowing down, needing to rest and attend to their bodies more, and having to determine where are they going to put their energy when they have less of it. And it's really a gift to me to see them courageously step into that process. And again, just like that tree, kind of so obvious, the incredible worthiness of where they are, this stage that they're in, their wisdom and their love for each other. It's so present. And if we, live in, connect to, listen to, honor these cycles, we also have to live in and connect to the transitions between them, right? Because it's not a duality. It's not either day or night or winter or summer, awake, asleep, right? It's always sort of in between. And the breath, again, shows us this, that top of the in breath as it transitions to the out breath, and the bottom of the out breath as it becomes the in breath. Sometimes it's like you can't even tell, right, when it's one or the other. That sort of liminal space. And that too can feel frightening. And I think, we're in a transition here too in the daily sit, where we've been together in this particular way for a year, and Bill and Susan are going to come back. And we don't exactly know what that's going to look like or how that will feel. We know that the 5 of us who've been here, we're definitely going to still be here and be teaching and a part of it. And some others who have been here at times might as well. But we don't exactly know. How will that be? How will that feel? And so with that transition, you might notice maybe you kind of want to hang where it's familiar. Like, I like this, I know this. Or maybe you really kind of want to know, the mind is like, well, I want to know exactly how it's going to be. I want to land where I have some solid ground. And that's often my experience and approach with transitions. I sort of like, my mind just wants to know, tell me what it's going to be. And I wind up sometimes missing out on the savoring and really being with the transition, in the transition. I think transitions give us that opportunity to be with uncertainty and with the unknown, even with confusion. Sometimes I find that when we're confused or uncertain, again, it can feel like this isn't how it should be, I should know. But sometimes we don't know. And something is always arising and passing, right? We are always in transitions. And this practice, and what Ajahn Chah was saying about the breath, invites us to experience it now and learn to relate to that now. Being with the transition from the in-breath to the out-breath. And trusting that the body knows how to breathe, that we don't have to control it. The body knows how to find that balance. And if we listen to the heart in the same way, we begin to sense into and value what's here and what's needed, and trust the wisdom of the heart, that it knows also how to bring balance. It knows how to kind of open and close and what needs to unfold. And I think that's really connected to the heart practices of the Brahma Viharas, that we don't force them, that we really trust that they're here already. And so just thinking about, as we're in this solstice day, honoring and trusting and listening to these natural rhythms and cycles within and around us. I wanted to end with this by Master Hua. He was a Chinese monk who taught some of the foundational teachers, Vipassana teachers today. All living beings are my family. The universe is my body. All of space is my university. My nature is empty and formless. Kindness, compassion, joy and equanimity are my function. So let's sit together. We can, of course, begin any movements, just kind of being with the transition, this transition, right? From receiving words to turning toward the body and breath. It's noticing maybe what's stirring, what's present in that transition. And anything that the body might need, any stretches, shaking out, attending to the vertical line of the body and the horizontal line, the back and the front. What can allow for some opening. Sometimes I take my hands and put them over my eyes for a couple of breaths, just to remember and sense that darkness, an invitation for the eyes to rest. And gradually feeling for a stable, supported posture where the body can soften as much as possible. And perhaps see if the hands feel better being face down, for a little more groundedness, or perhaps face up, more open, receptive. And as it feels right, connecting to the breath as it moves. Seeing if it's possible to trust that the body knows how to breathe. And perhaps see if it's possible and how it feels to connect with and accompany the breath as it moves through its different cycles of in-breath, shift to the out-breath, back to a brand new in-breath. Not separate from nature. perhaps observing this gentle flow and rhythm. And how that's echoed maybe in the rhythms of the mind and the heart. All living beings are my family. The universe is my body. All of space is my university. My nature is empty and formless. Kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity are my function.